Hey guys, what's up? So, for some reason, I've been watching American Idol this season. Well, probably because it's on Hulu this year. This year, it's never on Hulu, but it's interesting because what's really highlighted, if you've been watching, is really talented this year. Not that being rich and famous is the point of talent and art. It's supposed to being rich and famous is supposed to make you want to just contribute. Whereas these people are singing other people's songs. A lot of them are original. But if you just want to be a puppet, that's boring. You need to make your own material. That's what a real idol artist is, not just doing covers. Anyway, Hawaii and astrology is super highlighted this year. And I was just in Hawaii February, right before they went and filmed a couple episodes there like a month or two later. So I thought that was a cool coincidence that I just happened to be watching it this year. And then they're like, oh, we're going to Oahu. And I was like, oh, I was just there. Sweet. And then there's this one black chick contestant, really good. And she's an astrologer. So, like, that was her intro. And everything she talks about, like, they always make jokes about it, and the judges. And Katy Perry asked about Scorpios, blah, blah, blah. They all know that stuff. But anyway, I just thought it was funny how Hawaii is, like, one of my only unique cultural factors in my bloodline, and I've been there twice, and I was just there in February, and they go a month later. While I'm watching American Idol, which I never watch, I haven't seen it in 10 years, since I used to live in Houston growing up. But now, it is what it is. I also think, on a different subject, with the Bible, we need to look at the Apocrypha, okay? The Protestants don't like the Apocrypha, but I think they only don't like it just because the Catholics like it. I'm just being honest. Like, I don't believe in Catholic pagan traditions, but that doesn't have anything to do with the Apocrypha. I mean, the 1611 King James Bible, it had the Apocrypha in it, okay? So, it's part of the canon. And guess what? Jesus quotes it, all right? So he quotes 2nd Esdras, talking about... just like I was gathering hens or something, but you didn't. I gave you prophets basically, and you killed them all. Okay, Jesus was quoting 2nd Esdras, so we need to not look at the Apocrypha as just historical, but as part of canon potentially. Okay, and it quotes also. What does it quote? The Book of Enoch. Okay, and Christians aren't cool with that because Enoch has a lot of weird New Age ideas in it. But guess what? That's part of the spiritual literature of the time. And we should be looking at that stuff. All these books have been cut out the Bible. They changed the translation. The devil alters it in every way he can. He or she, whatever. Because the devil is like the Baphomet, it's a hermaphrodite, transgender, ironically. But another thing about the KJV is that, we've looked at parallels like of Hosea 13 and Revelation 13, but there's no footnotes in the KJV that say, hey, these are referencing each other, because it reveals the secret, okay? You can see like 100 footnotes on every page of the 1611 version of the King James Bible. Like, oh, this verse is that. Matthew 1:23 is a fulfillment of Isaiah 7:13. We shall call him Emmanuel and all that stuff. Like, it's trying to look all smart, but when you zoom out, it's like, why isn't it referencing Revelation 13 about the beast being a lion, a leopard, and the bear, and Hosea 13 as a footnote when it says Yahweh the Lord is a lion, a leopard, and the bear? These guys knew that. They couldn't have overlooked it. They studied it their whole lives. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, every single, even though it still has its own little hidden ciphers, I'm not saying it's not special. I'm just saying all Bibles have a form of hiding things in plain sight. Like, that's what Scripture is. They hide it in plain sight. So we read it the same verse 100 million times, but if we read it a different way spiritually, or someone tells you a different way to read it, it'll click. Okay, and that's kind of what my thing is. After you've seen a lot of my videos, things will start to click. But when you first hear it, you're like, nah, that's stupid, that's crazy. Isn't that how all ideas start, as crazy? And yet I have 100 videos in the past to confirm this path. Like, for instance, Jesus' message about overcoming the negative perception of the Old Testament is only valid if Yahweh is Satan. Okay? I'll say it again. Like, if Matthew 5 is Jesus talking smack about God's laws, eye for an eye, you've heard that been said, but I say turn the other cheek. Why would Jesus say you've heard that been said? God said it in the Old Testament, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Why would Jesus say that verse is, well, you've heard it been said? Doesn't make sense unless Yahweh is not what he claims to be. You know, he's the Anunnaki, satanic reptilian beings. They're controlling the world and the government, who put the moon there to suppress our pineal glands. You know, like, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's all tying together. I am starting to believe this stuff instead of just think about it, okay? There's thinking, and there's pondering and wondering, and then there's using your heart to know things. You don't just use your brain to know truth, y'all. You have to feel truth. And we're all taught that truth is logic and evidence and this and that. But it is. But sometimes hunches are deeper. But what's nice about hunches is that you can prove them later. You know, they're not just, they don't stay hunches. They're confirmed throughout life. Sorry. That'd be cool if we, like, shared dreams, y'all. Like, if we literally were just, I dreamed something and then one of y'all showed up and we were in the same dream. Like, does that ever happen? Or is that what heaven is, you know? And also, if you couldn't tell, my screw tapes are like they're kind of a commentary. Okay, they're a commentary on how shitty today's music is. Forgive my French, even though it's an English word. I do the tapes to show rap wasn't as bad as it is now. And that if today's music is all you're exposed to, you're going to just hate, you're going to think music sucks. And I don't know, there's just something in me. It's like an unconscious kind of protest against current gangster rap crap. I just don't like it. Let's see. Yeah, still reading Don Quixote. Still agree with the 40 parallels of the Bacon works and the Shakespeare plays all in Don Quixote, just, you know, like at random. They're like, oh, well, they're writing at the same time, so they have the same ideas. Huh? Who else said God is dead but Nietzsche? Who else said live dangerously but Nietzsche? Who else said what doesn't kill you makes you stronger but Nietzsche? He said those ideas in the 1880s at one time. That's why we like geniuses, because they have unique ideas. If they just reiterate the past, it's boring. But the beauty of Shakespeare, a.k.a. Bacon, a.k.a. Cervantes' book, Don Quixote. Yeah, Cervantes was real, but he didn't write Don Quixote. He's just another scapegoat. But anyway, how could they have the same 40 ideas, dude? How can they have the same 40 ideas and they didn't know each other? Well, they had the same circles. No, they didn't. And if they did, they'd want each other's credit. It was Francis Bacon who was in Gray's Inn performing Shakespeare plays, not Shakespeare. Okay? And it's Francis Bacon who has the literal historical evidence of a genius background, whereas Will has no education, no books, no letters, no writings, just his will and a couple bills. And in his will, it doesn't mention a single play. It doesn't mention a single book. He leaves his wife his deathbed. I mean, he leaves his wife his second best bed. Like, come on. And The Merchant of Venice, the story was in Italian only at the time Merchant of Venice was written. It wasn't translated into English yet. So how could Shakespeare know what story it is if there's no evidence of him knowing any Italian? Bacon knew Italian. Bacon knew Spanish. Bacon, you know, whatevs. let's see. Just scrolling through my ideas. Some are good, some are boring. Some are so-so, but still want to put them out there. You know, the thing about predestination is, it says, for whom he did foreknow, he did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son. So it says predestinated people are like Jesus. And that's what he said. Jesus said we would perform greater miracles than he did in the end times. Isn't that crazy? He made the wind stop. And I've had telekinetic experiences with the wind, to be honest. And Nietzsche has telekinetic experience with lightning, as well as me as well. Just saying. And our birth charts indicate that as well with the Pisces, psychic sign. But also with Jesus and I, it's interesting. So Jesus and the Father are one, right? Like he is pure truth. He's only a guiding light to what our lives should be like. Jesus leads us an example. Do as I do, not as I say. Whereas Yahweh, Old Testament, scary, God says, do as I say, not as I do. I can kill, but thou shalt not kill. Stuff like that. But anyway, so Jesus and the Father are one. Me and my dad have the same birthday. Okay, so I thought that was interesting. We are one archetypally, astrologically. But also Jesus grew up with Joseph, his stepdad. And so did I. I didn't know my real dad when I grew up at all. So I grew up with my awesome stepdad, who was Jewish, which is good because this goes into my next point. Jesus was Jewish. So I kind of have like a weird commonality in growing up in that kind of Jewish culture versus all the Christian people who grow up Christian, going to a church, don't know any Hebrew, don't know those traditions. So it's beneficial to me to be a Christian having grown up a Jew. So I think that's what's cool, because Jesus was Jewish. And of course, Benjamin, the name itself, my name means son, the son of the right hand. And Jesus is sitting on the right hand of God right now, of course. If Jesus and God are one, how come Jesus is sitting next to God right now? Okay? He was one with truth and one with love. The eternal love of God was in him more than anyone else. That's what that means. And Jesus and I, the heavy Pisces. And, we both have our own ministries. Like, I'm on YouTube, the internet. He was walking around Bethlehem, in Galilee and all that stuff. But, I just feel like this is like the time to reveal that kind of shit, But anyway, this kind of goes into my thing about Nietzsche. What have I been saying for 12 years? That Nietzsche fulfilled the 1844 Great Disappointment, Jesus' return. And I was like, how can I say Nietzsche is Jesus? That's just so weird. But he wasn't Jesus. He's an archetype of Jesus, because Jesus was an archetype of truth and God. That's what Nietzsche is. He's an archetype of truth. So he's the only one to have the authority to say God is dead. And that whole perception of him is overcome now with our new version of self and Übermensch knowledge. And I'm using self and my synchronicities in my personal life to prove God. And that's what that was. Not just having faith anymore. It's having your own personal experiences confirming life. In my estimation, my opinion. Same with Quetzalcoatl. He's the Jesus archetype as well. Died on a cross, performed miracles. He was peaceful, the Prince of Peace. He opposed animal sacrifices, wanted to sacrifice flowers instead. So anyway, all these Jesus archetypes are coming down through time, because Jesus, he's one with the Father, aka one with truth and love. And as Swedenborg says, famous Christian mystics, for the angels, he said, for those who have love and wisdom in equal amounts, a breeze blew upon their face. Okay, and I feel that sometimes psychically in this world, or not even psychically, because it's not mental, it's affecting the physical world. Telekinesis. I have ascendant Jupiter and Mercury and Pisces, and I'm all about the ethereal psychic realm. And I do believe that kind of stuff is real. Just read any Dean Radin book. ESP is 100% real. So at what point is matter mind? You know, even Virgil, he says mind moves matter. So that could be a little deeper than us mere mortals in the 20th century with our logical brains can fathom. But anyway, I think I'm done ranting. Peace.